What's up?
What
Hey,
just happened?
everybody. Welcome back to the Nashville Fit Magazine podcast. We are here. My name is Savannah. Y'all can call me Sav, and I'm here with my boy.
I am the Jarrell Webb.
What's up, Jarrell? How you been?
Just chilling, hanging out.
Right on.
Cool. Another beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It really is a nice day today.
Yeah.
It is.
We're here.
We are here.
What's new with you, Savvy Sav?
Well, what's new with me is I'm sitting next to a very cool dude that I've gotten to talk for about 5 minutes with.
Yeah, we're gonna
because
slow
we're
it
saving
down.
the conversation for this podcast.
Okay.
But this podcast today is brought to you by where we are right now, Stretch Zone Franklin. So thank you, Stretch Zone, for being our sponsor today. And we are here with our friend Craig Capurso. Am I saying that right?
Got it?
Craig Capurso. That is a really
Is that Italian?
That's a rock star
Half,
name.
yeah. Well,
Half?
I mean, the last name's Italian.
The last name's Italian? Okay.
That's a rock star name.
It's actually, there's a town in Italy called Capurso.
Oh,
so
cool.
Yeah?
Is it
Right.
really is it somewhere you'd want to go visit on vacation?
I would want to, but I haven't been. I've been to Rome and a couple other places there, but I never actually made it down to where it is. But yeah,
Awesome.
it's on the to-do list. Bucket
Well,
list.
yeah, that definitely needs to happen. That's your last name.
Is it a family situation? Like, is that where your family is actually from, or no?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I mean, but there's probably is, some
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah,
relativity
if
to
you
that.
dig deep enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, are you ready to play the basket of debate?
I'm
Craig?
always ready.
Let us introduce you to the
Okay.
basket of debate.
What you got?
So this is kind of our icebreaker that we do on the podcast. It's kind of our thing now, and this
It's
is
actually
how
pretty famous, Craig.
we
I
get
don't
to
if
know
you
each
it or
other
not.
and just
Yeah.
kind of share an opinion about something really random. So it's something usually debatable. Like Jarell and I have definitely had different opinions on some things. Definitely had the same opinion on some things. So I'm gonna let you grab one. I'm gonna grab one too, and we'll all read one.
Sweet.
And you can pass that over to Jarell.
Thank you.
And I would say, let's have Craig go first, but let's give him a little intro. So I'll go first because I
Okay.
went last, I think the last time. So I got another stupid natty or not. I'm really bad at these. So we have one.
I thought you were doing the intro.
You can
you're about
get-
to read.
Well, you can get natty or not. So that means are they natural or not? So it can be anything from steroids, Botox, and I'm really bad at it because I'm just bad at it. But 50 Cent, natty or not?
Currently,
I feel like he's always been not
currently he's
real.
natty. I don't think he's always been natty.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't keep
But,
up with 50
Yeah,
Cent too
100%
much.
currently.
cool.
Yeah.
I would go with that. I haven't seen him recently to say that.
Yeah,
but I mean,
that's
I
my
did
song
see
was
him when
like
he
Super
all-
Bowl. Yeah, like Super Bowl, he was definitely natty.
I don't keep up with
Probably
him.
prime 50 because you saw a era where rappers were juicing. You can tell
Yeah.
Nelly, Busta Rhymes, they just got huge. 50 was in that thing
Yeah, I
his
can-
first album. I would
Funny-
definitely say
Funny story about Busta Rhymes. He actually trained with one of my first IFBB coaches.
dope.
way!
Yeah. So
Natty
natty or not?
Who, me?
Buster.
Oh, Buster. No, probably.
Yeah,
not.
probably
No,
not.
no.
He's like,
Don't
yeah, probably not. Yeah. I don't know how we got to Buster Rhymes, but yeah, 50 Cent, I would say probably not, yeah. Now, yeah, but
Yeah,
then probably not.
I wouldn't say so. I've
Yeah.
seen pictures of him recently, and
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, what's yours?
Mine is, oh man, candy corn, delicious fall treat or candy abomination.
I love it.
It's an interesting one. I can't have any right now. I'm on a no sugar thing, but
Okay.
it's not bad. It's not the first thing I would go for.
Yeah.
So, but I wouldn't put it at top or bottom. It's like middle of the road. It kind of just forgettable.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you. If I have other options, I wouldn't eat it. But I have a sweet tooth, so if it's there and it's if it was a bowl sitting right here, I'm there's nothing else here. I'll eat some just because.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not I'm
clean that
not.
bowl.
I don't feel the way I feel about pumpkin spice about candy corn.
That's good.
Yeah.
I feel okay, if you had to compare the two, which one's better, candy corn or pumpkin spice? Obviously, we know.
I've never had pumpkin spice, so I don't.
Right.
I don't know. So I'm gonna go with candy corn
I
because
guess
it's
they're not comparable. They're not the
delicious.
same. But yeah, I love candy corn. Have you
Yeah?
ever had the candy corn pumpkins? They're the same, whatever it is, sugar
Candle wax.
composition. Yeah, it's just pumpkin, and they're better because they're bigger.
Oh.
But I think I'm the only one standing up for candy corn here.
Yeah.
So,
we're both I
no
don't care
for
about it.
me.
Yeah, I don't care about it at all, actually.
All right.
I got one for you. Apple picking versus pumpkin patch. Which fall activity is better?
That's a great question. I don't know. I haven't done either of those in a long time.
I've never been apple picking, so I'm gonna go with
Really?
pumpkin patch. Yeah.
You, Drill?
Never been
Of
apple
all
picking.
people, I haven't been apple picking.
Where-
I never would have pegged
Where do you
it.
go apple
I'm
picking?
thinking the same, but where'd you go apple
Yeah, where do you go apple picking?
I grew up in the South. I actually grew up near here. So there
Is
was
apples
Gentry
here?
Farms, and I did go apple picking. I can't tell you where, but it was like on a school field trip.
Okay.
I feel like it's hard to compare because like the school field trip, I was like 5.
Yeah.
And I had a blast because I'm on a field trip away from
Because you're
school.
5. So you
and
don't,
I
really,
can
you
run
don't really
around.
know if you like apple picking or not.
I don't know.
Yeah. I grew
I
up
don't know
in
what it's like
Florida,
as an
so we
adult.
pick oranges.
So oranges, we
Okay.
had. I lived in California for a little bit, and I had
Yeah.
an orange tree right in front of my house.
Really?
And
Yeah.
It was the best damn oranges
Yeah.
ever. So
Yeah.
that
I
was
believe
cool.
that.
Yeah, mine is like oranges. We pick oranges, mangoes, those type of things. We didn't pick.
You had mangoes?
Yeah, my aunt has a mango. She ships me a box. She has a
That's
mango
my
tree in her
favorite
backyard,
fruit of all
and she
time.
ships me a box every year.
I think pumpkin picking's kind of like Costco going to the bucket, right? Where you can pick out your pumpkin. Isn't it pumpkin picking?
Kind of the same thing,
I
right? Like
mean,
right in front of
You
Whole
get a choice,
Foods.
right?
You can
Right in
now,
front of Whole
yeah.
Foods, you got like the
There's not
haystack.
really like a lot of known places to go do either around here. So,
There's apples in Tennessee.
I mean,
Yeah?
I don't know. I don't
No? Yeah?
don't know.
Maybe? Yeah? Who knew? I don't know.
Well, if you got
yeah.
apple farms out there,
Yeah, call
hit
us.
up
Let
the
us come do
magazine.
a live podcast of apple picking from your
Me and
from your
Darrell just
farm.
popping around.
Right?
yeah, that would be fun.
Let's get
Let's get
into
into it.
today's guest, man. Very interesting guy, Craig. We're gonna talk a lot about, of course, your business, Rockbox, but also like I like to start from the beginning, from how you got into fitness. I was reading over your bio. You've done a little bit of everything from Wall Street to Silicon Valley to now you're kind of doing a business style fitness coaching or business
men's
fitness
health,
coaching,
yeah.
men's health.
Yeah.
Have you always been into fitness? How talk to me about your SAT word matriculation into the fitness industry.
So I was definitely an athlete growing up, and I was self-motivated. My
Okay.
parents definitely supported me by bringing me to and from, but it wasn't like them pushing me. It was like kind of like, hey, you want to do this thing? And I was like, yeah. And I had an older brother who was kind of on the football track. So football definitely started the journey and ended the journey.
Yeah.
I'll say that. I think I heard you had a football background too.
Yes.
So I'll kind of lead
What
into that.
position?
So I was outside backer in college.
Okay.
I started off 4 years at a 1AA.
Okay.
And,
Where'd you go?
Sacred Heart University.
Where?
Sacred Heart
Sacred
University.
Heart?
is
Okay,
1AA.
yeah. Okay.
And then I was trying to go to the pros too. I think I heard
Yeah.
heard it didn't work for you. I went semi-pro for a little while too. But before that, I kind of played sports and was one of the better persons on the team from the jump, right? Like just had that attitude of just like
Natural,
going after it versus
Yeah.
like the kids being there and their parents pushed them to be there,
Yeah.
right? Like I
Right.
had a natural tenacity. So that kind of led my, we'll call it sports hunger. And so that just naturally made me stand out or have the physical capabilities of other people that didn't. So
Yeah.
that naturally just pushed me forward. And I was also smart. So in school, I was kind of like, studying and, making sure that my school was right. So I was like National Honor Society. When I went to college, in high school, I did good, all conference football player, trying to go bigger. And I ended up going to Sacred Heart after a couple, different people had reached out. And I ended up going there because a coach was going there. So I kind of segued with him.
Yeah.
And I ended up starting 4 years and doing very well there. But on that background, I had this big body after school. I came out with a finance major, starting to do semi-pro so I can start getting different tryouts and different things if it was going to work out. And I've done well, but I was like, as I'm seeing time pass and not getting that call, it was more like let's do something with this business thing that I got going on too. So I was a cum laude when I came out of school, and did really well there. But I came out of school and turned down my internship, actually at Barnum Financial, in investments and things of that nature, and I was gonna be a financial planner, but I turned it down to have a different opportunity, and it didn't turn out. So it was like right off the bat, I
done
had
that.
like lessons learned.
Yeah.
Okay,
I've done
your
that.
choices literally
Turned
have
down a great
repercussions.
opportunity for another one that I preferred, and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I literally got flown out to the airport for a day to interview, and then come to find out a month later, you don't have enough sales experience. I'm like, dude, I was in college. You knew this. I was like,
You called me, remember? Like
Yeah.
so that didn't work out. So I ended up coming out of college with a degree painting houses. That was my first job, real job out of school, that paid me. So I'm like,
yeah.
yep, this is not going to work out for a little while, but it just paid the bills.
Yeah, pay the bills, yeah.
And there's a chance to kind of go overseas and play with the Brick and Mortar Lions in Italy and some in Germany, and those.
That's cool.
And I didn't do it because I had loans and student debt, so I had to pay that back. there was some stuff there that kind of just crept up on me that we had to do it. So from there, let's see, let me jump you forward. I got in the mortgage business, did well there, ended up moving to Florida to open up a branch with a manager that was previously working with me, and didn't work out, man. Guy didn't come through with the money like he said he was, and I left a good thing too, flipped a 2-family house where I had a little bit of money in my pocket, so I felt okay.
Yeah.
But, it's going to run out, If you're not taking money in, that money goes pretty quick. So another life lesson. At this time, it would be not good if I didn't mention my wife. I did meet her before I went to Florida, so we kind of stayed in contact. And
How did you meet your wife?
Through a friend.
Okay.
A friend basically wanted me to set her. Here's a funny story. I hit on her like stepsister or sister-in-law or something, and she's like, "Well, you're not my type, but I know someone who is." And it kind of worked out that way.
Wow.
Where we kind of like,
Wow.
Cool.
so ended up.
Craig is a pass around. She was like, yeah, not me, but my sister made
Well,
like
the
it.
funny thing is, my friend actually dated that girl then. So
Sheesh,
it was
man.
like we weren't the right fit. So,
Yeah.
Swapsies.
Yeah.
You want to trade?
Yeah. And you want to trade? I kind of liking her.
Hey, it's
and,
fair.
So we met and we stayed in touch during that whole time. And there's just some other funny stories for another podcast.
Yeah.
Definitely a good one. But I'm in Florida, didn't work out, and I'm like, what am I going to do? So I'm like, I'm not going home. I got thrown like a huge monster going away party with like all the people. I had like 3 girlfriends that I was dating at the time at the same party, so it was a mess.
Yeah.
And it was just like this big debauchery. But I was like, I'm leaving, I'm going, I'm starting this thing new. And it turns out 3 months later it didn't work out. So I'm like, shoot, here we go. So I answered an ad, got my Series 3 license, studied on the beach in Florida. That was cool. And got into commodities. So I started trading or brokering commodities, kind of like Boiler Room. You guys seen the movie
Yeah.
Boiler Room? So I was that guy, just hawking
yeah.
just deals. And, it was legit. But about 8 months in, I was like, man, I want to do what those guys are doing on TV. And so the Wall Street guys. And I kept watching the channel, and I'm like, I'm going to do that. And some kind of spark went off in the office where just something didn't sit right. And I was like, I'm leaving. I'm out. And I literally packed my stuff, broke my lease, left. So I'm very spontaneous like that. I've done that a couple times. But went up to home from Florida to Connecticut, stayed with my parents, interviewed in the city, and I went to a football game, actually.
You're from Connecticut?
Connecticut.
Okay.
Went to a football game, which was our last like homecoming or something like that, and passed some resumes out, and that got me the chance to get a couple interviews and did well, got on the floor. Spent 2 years as like a junior trader, a clerk, kind of just doing all the grunt work. And, that kind of led me into this other segue of finance and the world of trading. So I traded commodities on the floor of the exchange. I went by the badge of meat, so I always had like the football meat personality. I was big at the time. And there was a boxing competition that was coming up that was raising money for charity. I think it was like Charity Water or a couple other ones. So I kind of got recruited to go do this. So I started shredding down, getting my boxing weight off or getting my football weight off and start boxing, and did pretty well. I was 2-0 as an amateur boxer, got sanctioned by the New York Boxing Metro. And so I love that. But, it was cool. It was for charity. I'm making money on Wall Street and doing different things. But that kind of set me up to like get into the IFBB world, to get into the fitness world, where I left my football mass to like this other body that I had and started doing those competitions, and went from like Muscle Mania, winning and placing high. And then I got an NPC. I won a couple shows. Then in junior nationals, I took 5th, and then won my next pro show. And so I turned pro. As
You
like
just
an IFBB.
blazed right over all these
Right.
crazy accomplishments. That's crazy. That's wow.
Thank you.
Good for you.
I was telling Terry before the show, I was like, do we have enough time to talk about all this stuff? So I was like, I got this weird, diverse background where
Of
it's like
course,
I've done a
yeah.
lot of things.
But that's really encouraging, though, I think, to people out there, because I feel like in this generation or just this time period in America, like a lot of people have multiple income streams, and a lot of people are, they get out of college and they're like, okay, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do what I studied for 4 years, and I think it's becoming more and more normalized to kind of like, okay, you don't like what you're doing, pick up, change it, do something else. You can study, you can learn, you can figure it out, and your whole history is an example of like so many different dynamic things, like, and it shows how much skills that you've acquired that have applied themselves to the next thing, and it's
I do want to call
propelled
that.
you.
Thank you for saying that. I'll take the compliment, but I'm gonna call myself out.
Okay.
Because being such like this entrepreneurial or this like kind of like just taking everything as I'm getting it, you forget to go vertical in one thing. And so that's something that I've realized later on in life that I've jumped too soon to the next thing, because either I was chasing a shiny object, or I was just something that, it was something I shouldn't have been chasing, where I kind of just buckle down and build. And so I'm actually seeing
makes
that
sense too,
today,
yeah.
where it's like, man, imagine if I just stuck in that one little thing right there. That would just give me this, where I think people, and to your point, I do agree that social media and this whole area portrays this. It's sexy to be an entrepreneur. It's sexy to kind of go and do these other things. And I think it's sexy to have stability, and it's sexy to have a family and these other
100% agree with
things
that, too.
that actually give you the idea, besides living, with no furniture, but you got this nice house and it costs you all the money.
Well, it takes work to do any of those things. You have to stick it out and see yourself through like failures and hardships and obstacles. And that's what makes people change so much. But I think it's okay if you're chasing a passion. Like if you are stuck in a 9 to 5 and you studied for it, you have the degree for it, you have the experience, you're good at it, but it's not what makes you happy, then yeah, change. But in what you're saying, also true, like give it some time to build something before you kind of just jump to the next shiny object. That makes sense.
So Craig, here's my question on that. Where's the line? Like looking back at it now, and I'm just a proponent of, I believe that everything works out how it's supposed to work out,
Yeah.
right? But looking back, you're saying that if you would have stuck a little longer, maybe you could have built something different. And not saying that you wouldn't end up where you are now.
Yeah.
So my question to you, and I'm sure, for our listeners, is like, how do we know when it's time to build versus how do we know when it's time to say, hey, it's time to move on?
Yeah, so I've gone, man, to the extremes of sleeping on couches. Like my first apartment in New York City. Let me just back up. So I left Connecticut with, I don't know, 50, 60 grand in the bank or something like that. I just left a 2-family house that I was able to get. I did it like a 12 or 13% loan with a hard money guy just to get the property that I knew I was going to flip. If I got stuck on it, which was right around the 2008 cycle, I would have got stuck and had ate it. So I started risking early.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I was chasing some things. I was in fitness, and I obviously I did the IFBB thing and competed there. But I was kind of doing it for a reason. I wanted to take out of the industry celebrity, inspiration, the whole thing, so I can move myself into another category, maybe acting or something like that.
Right.
So
Smart.
I was trying to push it there. I got sponsored. I was with bodybuilding.com, Cellucor, and so I was getting paid from those sponsorships and just attention, and then I created fitness programs and things. So I was able to monetize that, where a lot of people in those industries don't.
Yeah.
And they stick in it, and I'm like, why? What is, like, when I was getting, I always went to the expos, and people would come and see me in line. I want to be like you. I'm like, no, you don't. Why? What is it? Like, I was the dad. I was like the fitness dad early.
Yeah.
Early, I was this way. I was like, dude, I'm doing this for a reason, not the same one you are, different one. And so, to your point, I think it's like, I think people forget to have a plan. They kind of just, chase social media just like the scroll, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're just chasing the thing that's going to stop us. And I think if I were to do it again, I'd probably plan a little bit more, because, like I said, I move in on a whim. Like, I am very whimsical when it comes to certainly making a decision. I'm like, hard line, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And it just feels right, and I do it. But then I would probably question myself, and just like I interview people when I'm actually bringing someone through the door at Rockbox or any other, where if I'm coaching them for my online program, I'm going to grill you. I'm going to make sure that you're right for this fit. And so I think I would probably reverse interview myself prior to making any big decisions. Probably a better way to go about it. Like, you want to lose weight? No, you don't. You want to feel good, look better, have better sex, not have the love handles. Like, those are the reasons. But losing weight is not the thing you want to do.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, really getting to the down dirty. So I'm going to come back to you with maybe some tangible that we could go through. But I would say maybe give yourself a hard reverse interview. I have like this, like an emotional audit that I do, where I call it like a life audit, something like Live Life by Design. And so, like, kind of breaking down the sectors, the 4 pillars that I go are faith, fitness, fellowship, and finances are like the 4 things that I try to, go after. And it would have to be like, what am I chasing when I'm going after this thing?
Yeah.
And where does that rank in my North Star?
I like it.
That's a great piece of advice right there. Really solid piece of advice. Reverse interview yourself. What do you really want? What's underneath that broad, I want money.
Why?
Okay. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
What is that going to bring you? There's several examples out there that I think it's important to hear that. It's like, slow down, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Yeah. I need to hear it.
Yeah.
So I need to hear.
And are
I
you
constantly need to hear that.
and are you saving money? Is money coming in? That's another thing that, like, when you look at like all these people that are able to retire or have like a decent life, there's usually some end of disposable cash, right? So as opposed to, many of us entrepreneurs living paycheck to paycheck,
Yeah.
right? So, some version of that is like, does this provide me the ability to have some cash in the bank? Or am I stuck in entrepreneur startup mode and I'm always going to be building and working 80 hours a week? And when will I have that path to success?
Yeah.
I think
And
it's
so
the,
having that realization.
the fear of missing out. I think people have this like, I'm not where I need to be, like this person's here, everybody's ahead of me, and like, because you see that on social media,
Yeah.
and we all see it, but it's one thing to scroll and like see things that inspire you, and it's another thing to see those people like and get in your head about I'm not doing enough. And yes, life is short, and yes, you should chase those things that you're passionate about, that you dream about, but at the same time you have time to kind of come back to yourself and really plan and really know, is this what I really want to be doing? If diving into this right now, full steam ahead is what I'm going to do I have that plan that's going to keep me, safe and secure? Am I going to be okay? Or am I going to be living paycheck to paycheck? And that's like, I think people skip that because of the excitement of life, and it's
here's
like, yeah.
here's my rebuttal to that, and I'm sure you can talk to this as well, Craig, because we come from similar backgrounds, and you seem to be very competitive. Like you seem to be like once your mind is set on something, it's like that's where I'm going. I'm going there. Where is the balance? Because entrepreneurship, business is a sport. However you want to look at it, it is a sport, and sports are competitive. And usually in sports, you're never competing against. It's never you against you. It's you against somebody else. So you always, whether that's, I'll just use you for an example because you're sitting here. Whether I see all the things that Craig has done, I'm like, man, I haven't done half of that. I gotta get on my stuff, right? Or I see Sav and I'm like, yo, she's killing it in this area. Like I should be doing that as well. Yes, there's a version of your plan and what your plan is, but there's also the realization that I am behind. I do need to get my shit together. Or like, hey, let's give it some time to build. Again, my question is kind of still the same. Is like, when do you know when to pump the brakes or when to push the gas?
I'm going to respond to that in maybe the simplest way is, again, if you know your North Star, so if you audit it yourself and know like what your future holds for you or what you deem important, then you could just face each decision by, am I doing something that's working towards this goal? Like what would Jesus do, right? Like if you went to that route. But I had something to say and I missed it on that one. But yeah, I think that's the best way I would tackle it is like, we waste so much time scrolling or doing this or doing that. Like, how much time can we get back if we actually were so focused?
Yeah.
And you mentioned balance. That's what I want to pick up on. Balance is bullshit.
I agree.
Balance is bullshit.
I agree.
There's no one who's done anything great at life that was ever balanced.
I agree.
But rhythm is something else, and so
Yes.
I like rhythm
Ooh,
and
I
harmony.
like that.
So
Yeah.
rhythm is you're playing chords of a guitar or something. There's a high and a low chord. You just have to not break all the. You just can't let the strings drop.
Yeah.
But you're going to play the chords of life. Something maybe families down here right now because they
Yeah.
have to give me the the leeway to go kind of make my thing. Maybe
Yeah.
businesses up here, maybe wherever that is. But like you got to know what chords are on that you're going to be able to play. Like I said, mine are faith, fitness, fellowship, and finances. When I say fellowship, that's that family component and whoever you have counsel with. But some of those are going to be high and some of them are going to be low. You just can't drop the ball.
Yeah,
It's
mine
kind of
are
like the
very
80-20
similar.
rule in relationships, or the 60-40. Some people put different numbers on it, but it's usually applied to a romantic relationship, but it can be applied to friendships.
Yeah, any relationship, yeah.
Is sometimes one person is going to be carrying 80% of it while the other person's sitting at 20, and they
get
need to
that.
be there
Yeah.
because they're at a low point, or they need that support. So somebody else is carrying more of that, responsibility, more of that, relationship, and then it flip flops. It shouldn't ever be one person all the time, but that kind of reminded me of that. What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say mine are very similar. Like so, mine and I'm glad I didn't get it, but it was gonna be a tattoo that I got. It was GFF and it was God, family, football. Those are my priorities. So now it's GFF, but God, family, and fitness. And so those have always been like my priorities. Those, like, if I keep God first, then I'll take care of everything. My family is very important to me. So no matter how much or what I get in this world, if I don't keep them, it doesn't matter. And then fitness, because that's kind of my safe space. That's my therapy. That's where Jarrell gets to just be Jarrell and not anybody else. I don't have to be daddy. I don't have to be husband. I can just go be Jarrell, the athlete.
But it also
and that
makes
keeps
you
me
better at those
Yeah, and that
things.
makes me better at those things. So those things all work together. And to your point about balance, rhythm. I like rhythm. I've always
too.
heard it as juggling. Like, some things take priority. It depends on what's up in the air at the time, right? And so I think a lot of it is conversation. Like, if you say, hey, if you're able to have a plan and share your plan, you're married. So if you say, hey, babe, this is the plan right now, or hey, Allie, this is the plan right now. All right. Here's what I'm working towards. So I'm not going to be as available as I normally am. Right. This is going to be for the next 4 months to the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then you got me back, right? Because this is forever. So these 4 months is going to put us where we need to be, but I got to dial in. I can't do the little things that I normally do, right? And some of that's communication. And we can kind of segue into what you're doing now, because you have a very specific group of people that you're coaching. That's men. And so how do you coach them? Like, how do you encourage them or lead them to whatever? Because that's still, if I read it correctly, it's still based on those pillars, right? Your coaching program. So how do you coach them through those pillars?
Sure. So, and I appreciate you asking. There's multiple things I got going on, but yeah, this is the top of, like, I would say, right? Like, I think part of this whole journey is, like, are we pouring into something else and nothing is returning? And that's also important. You got to find out if you're ever getting your cup filled, because if you pour it out to empty, you're good to nobody.
Yep.
And you're gonna be good that way in your employment or wherever you are and whoever's in your presence. But for the men, most people will see me from my past, and so, like, they'll search me on social and see that I've accomplished some things from a fitness standpoint. And so generally they approach me with, like, a fitness goal. Lose weight, get stronger, whatever that happens to be. Generally, I usually work with men who are trying to, trim up, most 90%. That's like the majority, right? So, I'm like, okay, I can help you with that, but these are the 3 things that I also coach on, and it's so important, because if you don't have these things, just because you do that, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, those abs aren't going to matter. Yeah,
I push into them and evangelize into them, if you want to call it whatever you want to call it. But, like, there's more to this thing. People will stay and get the result, for a short time. But they're going to stay. They're in a continuity program and stay with me for years when I provide these other things. So I'm not just providing a fitness result that they can get from going hard in 75 hard if they want to do that or whatever. So I'm counseling them in a place where it's saying, like, look, guys, these are the things that are important to me. What are the ones that are important to you? Let's audit you. And I'm going to hold them accountable week over week, and we're going to show up and be that person. Because it's the same thing like Rockbox. Why is a gym where you're going to have a group fitness instructor or something like that a great place for someone to come into? Is because there's a set of accountability. There's principles. There's a system that people can get put through, a workout, a regiment. But, like, there's a community and there's a system, and that's what I provide. Essentially, is all 3.
Yeah, well, since we're there, let's jump into Rockbox as well. Like, what is Rockbox, and how is it different than a Title or a Mayweather or a Rumble or a 9 rounds or any of the other boxing gyms that are out there? Talk to us about that.
About how you guys do a little bit of Muay Thai
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, so I've never really gone and tested the waters anywhere else. I'm aware of them because of what we do. From my understanding, Title, I think, is just boxing for the most part. I don't think really they throw kicks, to the best of my knowledge. Maybe some studios do, but I'm sure.
It's not every studio. I can attest to they do it, but not every studio does it.
Mayweather, I think, is just boxing too,
Yeah.
right? Because that's more that style. Rumble is more like the trainers, like he's like the, I don't know, the DJ of
entertainer.
the whole thing, and
The entertainer.
everyone kind of does, everyone kind of does their own thing. So if you're cool with not having a semi-private group fitness experience, which what I would call Rockbox, or like a fight club and a nightclub, the experience inside probably resembles Rumble in a sense of the overall atmosphere. But we have flashy lights to give it the nightclub vibe.
Well, that matters too.
Music's blaring. There's no mirrors anywhere,
Nobody
so, like,
wants to
people
work
are
out
comfortable in
under
their skin.
fluorescent lights.
There's no selfies or anything like that going on. I mean, I might be in there trying to, like, coach class and, like, take videos so we can do some reels, but so it's a vibe where you're coming in. There's kickboxing, there's functional fitness, so you're lifting. Our weights go up to 80. We have sleds that we drive, so, like, there's a whole CrossFit component without the risk.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, that's what I would say. The functional side, there's that CrossFit without any Olympic lifting or risk. And there's a technology piece where videos are actually being demonstrated, so you don't have to like demo once and forget what I'm doing. So it's a cool.
So kind of like
vibe
an F-45 situation.
Yeah,
like where they have the
in a
videos
sense,
in front of you.
It's more strategic and like wherever you are, we could create our courses any way we want, like our
Yeah.
functional side.
Yeah.
And we do. We have a lot of different versions of
Okay.
that. And my wife is actually the head trainer of all of Rockbox. She's the one
dope.
who kind of like programs everything.
Is that how you got into Rockbox? How'd you
My
get
brother-in-law actually came to me before Rockbox existed under Fast Fit Boxing, wanted me to invest, and I was with my Metron software company in Silicon Valley. And I had no more money to invest, so I couldn't.
Yeah.
But he opened, I saw the whole formation of everything going on, gave some feedback, and he opened, and I had the dumbest idea. I was telling Terry again. The dumbest idea to get into a franchise was to learn like the digital marketing so I could take that learning experience and then go and do it digitally for my stuff online.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Just go to like a mastermind and learn how to do
And just
franchising. But like, don't get yourself stuck in like a 7 to 10 year lease.
You said your wife does the programming. I like that. That's because I know a lot of franchises take like corporate programming, and everybody has to do what corporate programs, and you don't even know who it is. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it does make me more inclined to want to go to Body Rock, me personally, because I've done the programming for a gym before, and I know how much I put into it and how much I care about it. And when I've done classes with a program that came from corporate, there's things that don't work for everybody, and you have to have that freedom to be able to like adjust those things for people. And I like the sound of a woman being, doing it, but B, like, I know that she's not, if that's her job to do that, it's probably, got heart in it, and it makes sense, and it can be altered depending on who's doing it.
Yeah.
So it's more user friendly, I feel like, to do it that way.
I appreciate that, and she would too. So, I have a lot of fitness background. So, like me growing up in that whole area of fitness, playing sports and seeing different versions, we've all been certified, I'm sure, in some version of something. She also not grew up, but like got into competition. So she actually looked apart at some point. She's 31 weeks pregnant right now, so we got a baby on the way.
I was going to say, at
but-
some
Hey,
point.
congrats, man.
I see now. I gotcha.
She's let herself go a little bit, but we'll get her back there. No, I was like,
Yeah, no, she
hey,
got
Craig,
the
we'll take
excuse.
that part out. Don't worry about it, brother. It's like at some
Let her
point,
go.
she was,
she's doing God's work.
Yeah, I
She's
love
carrying a
it.
baby.
This is your first?
Second.
Second,
Yeah,
okay.
I got an 8-year-old.
Okay.
Fabiana. And
Oh, that's a beautiful name.
thanks. And so she does that, but like each studio is supposed to take her programming and like, install it.
Gotcha, yeah.
But, I know it's not, we all optimize where we can
Yeah.
or something.
But I mean, like, you know who she is. Like,
Yeah.
I know there's places where it's like, they come from New York and you never learn who's programming, and it could be like 8,000 people doing it. Like,
How does that work with you having a fitness background as well? Do you ever look over the program and like, I'm going to change.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to take this out and put this in. Yeah?
We fight a little bit. We fight a little bit because like we have different ideas, but like her and I do see eye to eye for many things.
Yeah.
She's a good programmer. I can't take anything away from her, and I don't want that damn job. I can tell you right now, 365 workouts.
Sheesh, man.
a lot,
a year.
Yeah.
And it's like you got to repeat and do certain and try to like
Right.
use all the. I mean,
Try to build on top of each other. Yeah.
So my library of fitness videos that I have recorded over the years, I actually sent to corporate when they were starting. And so like a lot of the fitness programming actually comes from like my library. So like you'll
wow.
see some of my naming conventions in there.
Yeah.
So Wendy and I are kind of like tight.
Smart.
To the brand.
Yeah.
and
I
I'm
love
sure
it.
she's open to hearing your opinion since you
Nah,
have that experience.
No,
I mean,
you're not.
hopefully.
If
No.
Allie
You
came
should
to
be,
you,
because-
if Allie saw one of your programs and was like, hey, you should probably take this out and put this in, what would you say?
I ask why, and if she has a
Okay,
good why,
she has a good why.
I'm about it.
Now that's once.
That goes for anybody and any of my clients. If they don't want to do something, why?
Okay, but that's once. Now it starts to happen. Like she looks over your programs every time you write them.
Well, I would
you-
offer her the job. You want the job? And that would probably shut that down because
Yeah.
she does respect, what I know, and I respect what she knows. 'Cause
Yeah.
we're different, and she has a completely different background, and we taught each other a lot of things. And
Yeah.
yeah, we've definitely butt heads. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. Like, we're not definitely have butt heads, but we've learned, and that's a relationship for you.
Yeah.
Like, you're two different people.
My wife is not into fitness at all, and she will argue with me about something fitness related. Like, and I'm like, this is what you want to do?
hell you
You
wanna
sure?
have
Like,
right
right?
now?
This is the conversations you want to have right now. Like, when people ask, like, do you train your wife? I'm like, no, because we will fight for.
Like, what is something that she's brought up?
Like we were so perfect example. We were working out together and we were doing lunges. And I was correcting her, like, hey, correcting her on lunges. And she was like, well, I was told that this is, and I was like, no, this is how you do a lunge. And she was
So what
like,
was she doing wrong?
Well, so my wife, she's short, but she has long legs.
Okay.
Right? So she's short, yeah, but she has long legs. Like, she was supposed to be tall and then just stopped.
Well, you got the legs though.
And so she was taking really small. I do have the legs. Thank you. Yeah, hey now.
man.
You see me? Yeah. So she was taking like really short steps. And so the day we were doing was a glute focused day. So I was telling her like take a longer step, like and drive through that front heel, not through your toe. And she was on some like, no, because I feel more comfortable, and I was told that, and I was like, yo, you're getting quads. You're not going to get what you want out of this exercise. And so I know, because I love my wife, and I don't want to fight. So I just like, you know what? Do what you want.
Good man.
This is your workout. Do what you want. But then later I was like, you can't argue. Like I would never go to her and argue with her about HR.
You thought about it after.
Nah, yeah, 100%. I thought about the whole time. Actually, as I walked away, I was thinking about it. But
remember Jesus in Jesus' hometown, right?
Yeah, right.
There's something about that.
No, it's something about that, right? No matter what it is, you're never, like who I am at home, whether that's. And I think she got it from my mom. It's the same thing. Like, I would go home. I haven't lived at home and I don't know how long. She's like, you need to take the trash out. Like, take the trash out. Like, lady, you know who I am? Like, but I would take the trash out. My grandmother the same way. So she would see that. So now she's like, she doesn't care about all this other stuff. You know what I mean? That you do in the world. Like, your wife isn't impressed with your resume. She's like, hey, bro, I just need you to get the baby. And
you can't come home and be like, do you see this body that I got right
you don't
now?
see? You just go walk past all of this?
Yeah, that doesn't work in our house either,
doesn't.
But have you seen my abs? Yeah, have you seen mine?
Yeah, I don't care. It'd be great if you, like, when people ask me about, like, does your wife get jealous with you posting, like, shirt off pictures or videos? And I was like, she could care less. Like, if there's one person that could care less, no, when I tell you she could care less, like, she's like, I don't care. How much did we make today? Like,
y'all
she
wouldn't
doesn't
be
care.
married if she cared about that.
No, 100% no. 100% no. Because I need somebody that understands who I am and what I do, and that is it's the entertainment factor, right? Like, it's, like, if I post something with my shirts because I want to get your attention, not because I want your attention, like, look at me, I look great, but because I know you're going to stop and listen to whatever I'm saying or whatever I'm doing, right? Yeah,
unfortunately.
It's just what the internet is at this time, right?
I mean, and I was somebody who rejected that for a long time, even though I did have the attributes to look the part, but, like, you can't deny, like, you have to know reality.
Yeah, the reality is, the reality is men come to you because they want to look like you. Or they want to drive what you drive, or they want to live where you live.
And that's where he instills what he talked about.
But now that I have your attention, I can give you all the other things that make this stuff worth it, right? Yep. So now I got you. You're here, right? It's the hook. But now here's what you really need to make sure that you can sustain your abs, sustain your finances. You don't go broke trying to look rich. Like, you have all these different things. I'm interested in how fitness works together in business. Like, what part do you feel like being in shape plays in how you perform in your business?
Well, I think being an athlete first, right, is like the tone setter. I would hire an athlete every single time I could hire an athlete, just because of the tenacity that they have. They know that criticism comes and it's warranted and it should happen, and it's only there to get you better.
And so they're coachable. Yeah. My wife, she works in HR. She literally said the same thing. She said, if I could hire athletes, I would.
Yeah. They're just different breeds of human. So an athlete for sure is someone who just gets it, is like, okay, I'm willing to work hard. Like, I work well through negative energy, essentially. Like, I've been told all through football, you're not doing it right, you're not doing it right. Like, that's all you're going to hear. And so that's what you drive off. Okay, I'm not doing it right. When you start telling me I'm good, then it's like, I'm good. I don't need that praise anymore. I don't need the pat. Like, just tell me where I'm wrong. How can I get better?
Yeah.
Like, I'm the guy that, just like, okay, we won 50-0. What could I do?
Why wasn't it 57?
Yeah.
Like, but I missed a tackle in the first quarter. Yeah, like that person.
Me for sure.
Yeah.
But as far as the business side, you certainly are going to take, obviously, like a strategic approach, right? Like, so there's an offensive, defensive strategy. If you're marketing, a lot of stuff I do is in the marketing. I think all of us social media people now are in the marketing side. You're looking at, like, what's working, what's not. So dissecting those things. being a team environment, right? If you're in sports or some kind of fitness, physical component, having the energy to, withstand a day, being able to go hard and not have to take a break or these other things. So like, there's so much more that like, even the fact that if you look better, if you're physically in shape, that's a conversation starter. It's like a business card.
Yep.
I could walk anywhere right now and I have a business card that other people don't have if they're overweight.
Yep.
And literally I'll get looks and nods from guys, girls, doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter.
Just because I'm in physical good shape.
Yep.
Versus somebody who would get overlooked because they just blend in.
Yep.
And so like, not for nothing, people that are in shape are, the smaller minority of things, right? So you're going to look at something that's more unique.
Yeah.
So that would help if you're in sales for sure. If you're showing up to somewhere, someone wants to do business with someone that they know, like, and trust. And part of that's going to be, someone who they don't care not to look at, right? Like someone who's like hideous. You're just like, man, I don't know. Right. So like, let's be honest, like that's a real conversation.
Yeah.
So
100%.
The energy, the fitness, the ability for you to say, I can take care of me. And also that means I could take care of a business or some other. So like, it's some version of, reliability. If I'm hiring somebody who's like a mess, I might think twice because I'm like, if you can't take care of you, how do you think I'm going to let
give you some
bring
responsibility,
into my business? So there's some versions of that.
There's a discipline aspect to it because like you can't buy this. You have to work for that.
Yeah.
Like that's not something I can just go and go to Walmart and
That's
pick
what
up.
I see when I see like
Yeah, it's like, okay, you got discipline.
a body that has
Like,
appears the part because it's not about like, oh, you're a better person. You could be a complete
Horrible
dick,
person, but you're at least disciplined.
You at least have work ethic.
It's like
you
like
know
you said,
what it
just
takes to accomplish that.
Yeah, like earlier when you're like, I'm not doing sugar right now, so I wouldn't do candy corn. Like that little thing like that is so hard for so many people just to cut out something, right? Like whether that's, sugar, alcohol, whatever that thing is. Hey, I'm gonna cut this out because for whatever reason you're doing it, right? Because I want to be better in this area of my life.
Because change is hard.
Because change is hard.
It's not supposed to be easy. So when you're going and getting the easy fix, you can't expect that to last.
Yeah.
You have to consistently put in hard work.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring this up for the listeners. You guys will probably disagree, or maybe you won't. I'm not a fan of small changes where people like general public, they're going to say, let me do one small thing and do it, right? Like that, guys, is a friggin' losing mentality. And why do you think most people are like overweight? Because they're trying to do the minimal viable product to get a result. Well, that minimal viable product that you're going to do, or that minimum that you did, that small habit, like Atomic Habits, James Clear, I talk fast, guys, I know. But that's not going to be enough for your motivation to kick in and your discipline to get started. So if you're not taking chunks of where you're trying to go and getting them a win, circle that W some point soon in the sphere of like you starting, you're going to lose the motivation and the inspiration and all the drive that you had, because we know that's fleeting, right? Like inspiration's fleeting, motivation's fleeting, but the discipline and that work ethic. So like a hard line, if I'm going to say I'm not going to do sugar, it's a hard line. That means zero freaking sugar. There might be some natural sugar, but it's like no included sugar.
Right.
That's why I do like more when I'm coaching in some aspects. I'm being like, guys, it's gonna be rigorous right now. Like I don't cater for everybody. It's like, look, if you're gonna want to do the everything diet, we'll put you over here. But it's like you're in this box. But like if you want change, this is how it's done. Because the moment that you give yourself the ability to have something that you shouldn't have had, now you broke Pandora's box.
Yep.
And so it's and if it's just a food choice that you have the choice of choosing versus like some kind of something strict. Like I'm not a big keto guy, but I get the premise of it, or some of these other diets that are very rigorous and strict. There's a good premise because it's either black or white versus that gray area in between. Well, I have these macros, I could fit it. Oh, I'm gonna fit it over here and over here. Man, if it's just like this, it's just like this. So like, just some food for thought for anyone listening. Like, go hard. Like if you're gonna commit.
Yeah.
I feel like I do have some objections to that.
And that's why I don't coach women.
Just only because, and I absolutely think that's a great point, because I do think men and women can think differently. I think that there are women who think like that, definitely, and I'm not knocking it. I don't necessarily disagree with it entirely. I just think that there are some things that, like, if you do take a huge chunk of something to change, and that person's used to like this, and then you grab that big chunk and go, well, this is what we're gonna not do anymore. How can they? It's much more difficult to stay consistent with something like, okay, we're going to take you from, if you're making a big change calorically to somebody's diet, for example, which I don't do calories with my clients, but for example, say you I did have a client start with me who was put on a 1,500 calorie diet, and I was like, well, that's the problem right there, because the nature of the work she was doing, which was bodybuilding, isolating a lot, which is nothing wrong with it, and then her body type, her goals, and then what she was eating, it wasn't working. She was gaining weight. And
So she slowed her metabolism
because,
down.
yeah, they took this huge change for her and changed everything about her training. And she was committed. She was very wanting to change. But this change didn't stick because she couldn't be consistent with it because it was too big.
Yeah. So I think that has to do, and this is just coaching now, right? So like, it has to do with getting a baseline, right? When I said audit, I audit them as well as like what they're eating. Usually, it sucks because I slow the process down. I wrote a program called 30 Days Out on bodybuilding.com that had a lot of people do it and great results. But it was just a hard cut, and it was right off the bat. Me personally coaching you, now I have you under my wing. You spent some money with me, and that's another thing I was going to say. You got to invest. You got to invest in your health. And if you're not willing to put a couple $100 to couple $1,000, frankly, guys, if you're not willing to put a couple $1,000 towards your health, you're probably not going to get the changes because you're just doing the minimum.
You're betting on yourself.
So that's it.
How much are you worth?
I say it like this, this is even for Rockbox. Like, I don't want to let someone in Rockbox try a workout when they're like extremely out of shape and overweight, for the pure fact that I need them to commit to their goals before they actually try a workout, because the workout could scare them. But if they've previously committed, then I actually have their buy-in. And now they're like, okay, well, I'm already in. I'm in this thing. I signed the money. My contract's in. They sold me the dream, and I want it. Now let's show you how to get there. So like part of what you mentioned is like the accountability side, making sure that they have that piece, that they can do the extreme, that they have the community to support them, and they have the proof that's there, versus them being isolated and doing it by themselves with everyone around them who's always bad influences anyway. So it's isolating the problem, bring them around a community. So that's one thing I would say, is that's why I do community stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's so much to that, that we can go on today,
For sure. And because I do like pieces of what you said, and I think there's like different scenarios that we could apply both, concepts and get different results, because people think differently, people have different backgrounds, they have different circumstances. But I mean, it's a good thing to bring up, because people are capable of a lot more than they think they are.
100%.
And that's what you have to pull out of people. But they won't do it unless they commit to it. And I agree that like there are much more extreme ways and changes that you can make to give yourself what you want. You have to do that audit. You have to really look at what do you really want? What do you really need right now? Not lose weight.
Yeah.
No, you want to have better sex. You want to have a better life. You want to go on more vacations, make more money, make more friends. Like, figure that out, and then know that you're capable, but you have to just commit to it. And then there's so much out there that you can do. You can't limit yourself, or it's you against you.
I think, and those are some great points, guys. But I think there's also another piece of this is, if I asked you right now, where do you want to go to dinner? Where do you want to go to eat? I'm taking you out to dinner. Where are we going to dinner?
Somewhere with steak.
Right. She wouldn't know the answer. She wouldn't actually have one place. And if I said one, she's going to 3 or 4 more. But what you do know is what you don't like. And so another way to go about kind of motivational interviewing your clients is talk about all the things that they don't want anymore, all the things that they can relate to pain now today that I can move away from, versus trying to chase something I never had.
Sometimes that's more, that
I like it.
I think is more motivating than the thing you don't have, that you've never had, you've never experienced
I want to
it.
be a millionaire. Well, if I've never been a millionaire, I can't even relate to like the feeling of that. Maybe I don't want it when I get there.
And a lot of it is emotional, is getting those, like, breaking past barriers. You have to break past emotional things too. And if you felt rock bottom, if you felt the thing holding you back and what you don't want anymore, that's what you can go off of and get that emotion that drives you.
Yeah, you can touch it, you can feel it, you can move away from that pain that you're currently in. So, I mean, it's just
Great point.
It's a better way to go when you start tracking your goals. Talk about like the pain and all the things that you have discomfort now, and how fast you can move away from those things. That's another way to track, progress, as opposed to just weight loss or body fat.
Huge point. That doesn't get talked about enough.
We're back in this thing. Thank you to our sponsors at Gracie Record Coaching. Craig, we got to move to stretch your intellect. Now, stretch your intellect, you're a smart guy. And so it's going to be some random facts that we're going to throw out there for you, just to see maybe you know it, maybe you don't, or maybe
count
you
on it.
don't count on it.
Don't count on it.
Maybe
I'm
you
not
leave a
good at
little
Jeopardy.
smarter.
I'm not good at Jeopardy. I got street skills or something. I don't know, but not Jeopardy skills.
Let's do it.
Can you come on, stretch?
What you got?
I gotta stretch around my
You
microphone.
gotta stretch
and grab
around that mic.
it. All right. You wanna go first or me?
I think you went first. Like, I'll go first
You
this
go.
time. We're
You go.
still okay. TV dinners were invented because of Thanksgiving. The concept of TV dinner with its pre-portioned compartments were inspired by the segmented metal trays used for serving military rations during World War II. The first TV dinners were marketed as ways to ease up Thanksgiving leftovers or use up Thanksgiving leftovers.
Interesting.
Am I picking is this a true fact or?
Yes,
am I-
it's true
am I-
fact.
am I-
Yeah,
am I
we're
home?
just. This is just
The
a.
basket of debate is like a debatable thing,
Yeah.
but this one you can't
This-
debate.
this
I
is
was
a
trying to go
fact.
fake news on that. So
You was gonna go fake news on that?
I was
No,
trying.
this is real news.
So they got TV dinners for Thanksgiving.
as a way to use up leftovers for Thanksgiving. So you portion it out and you say, "Hey, we're gonna freeze it,"
Sure.
and then you'll eat it
Yeah.
5 days from now or
Isn't that something?
10 days from now.
Man.
I guess it makes sense. It's usually like turkey and dressing and
Yeah.
Right.
mashed potatoes or something like that. I'm not a big TV
So is
dinner
that where
person, but
food prepping came from, right? Like essentially that the TV dinner is the first.
it's the
food prep.
it's
Kinda,
the
yeah.
first meal prep. There you
Yeah.
go. There you go. See, it all makes sense. This is a fitness podcast. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I learn so much every time I
Stretch your
speak through 'em.
intellect.
Yeah. All right.
What you
so
got,
the
big
second
dog?
fact. Thanksgiving used to be celebrated on different dates. Thanksgiving was often celebrated on different dates in different states until these presidents be making their own rules until President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed a bill in 1941 that officially established Thanksgiving as the fourth Thursday in November. What was the other date?
Whenever they wanted it to be, I guess.
Lots? Well, good. Every day should be a day to give thanks.
Different states had different ones.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Different dates in different states.
Yeah.
So
Craig-
whose state was it their idea to do the fourth Thursday?
the president, Roosevelt. Then you just read your fact.
Yeah, but did a state already have it on the fourth day of that Thursday? And he's like, I like what that state's doing. Let's do that.
Yeah, maybe. I'm gonna go with
I
Florida.
don't know.
It's 'cause
Florida?
my-
no.
It's my home
We
state.
didn't do anything
so,
Florida
you
wanted to
know,
do.
Florida.
Just kidding.
We set the trends, baby. Hopefully not right now, but back then.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I love how whenever we get to this, it could always go political if we wanted it to.
Always. Random.
By the way,
I know
hold
you're
on.
from.
If
Yeah.
you guys ever want to go that route, tap me in.
Tap you
Okay.
in. You
Tap
with
me in.
it?
I like a challenge.
I don't know if we have the time today.
yeah.
If you ever want to go that route, I'm game.
Random. You're
Hey,
from.
that'll
You're from
stretch your
UConn?
intellect for sure.
Huh?
You're from Connecticut.
Connecticut.
So originally I signed with UConn
Oh, no,
to go to college.
Yeah.
Didn't work out. but
Huskies.
yeah.
Been over there at a couple good parties. That was like
sure.
my first scene of what a college party can look like and how it can get out of hand. They had some crazy
They
parties
got
up
some.
there.
It's a good party
I
school,
did meet
man.
a lot of people from Connecticut when I went to school in Boston who all were like party people. Like, they were
Connecticut.
always at a party.
Connecticut's
and
weird,
They
man.
were
Nothing
like,
else
I
to do
couldn't
in
wait to get out of
Connecticut.
Connecticut. And I'm like,
We used to go to Hartford where the
see
Civic
that.
Center, where the concerts were.
Yep.
And it was like Dave Matthews Band would have the biggest riots. Like Dave Matthews is such a chill thing.
Yeah.
They're smoking weed in the corner over there. And it's like, they are rioting. I got hit by
Flipping
tear
cars. Why are
gas.
you guys flipping cars with Dave Matthews?
I'm telling you, dude,
Yeah.
it was just like the Sharks and the Jets. There was just fights from different towns.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't know what it
wow.
is. These Connecticut people.
Yeah.
Glad to be out.
Okay. Okay.
That's wild.
Craig, this is your time to leave us with one thing that you want our listeners to take from this episode. It can be anything. It can be political. It can be fitness. It can be coaching. Whatever you want to stick.
I think let's go with that life audit, right? I call it live life by design. But essentially, you asked me a great question, which I think is something that I always need to check myself. I thought at one point in my life it was great to be to be able to say I can do all the things, right? To say I can do this. I actually thought it was a strength of mine to say that I can not juggle, but I can. I'm fading for the words, but being able to manage multiple things at
Dynamic.
once. But
Yeah.
if you're not managing one thing and focusing on one thing, you're not paying attention to the other things. And so if you have more priorities than one, then you're dropping the ball on a couple other ones. So I would suggest you really think about, okay, what is my North Star? What is the really thing I'm trying to gain in life? And life has different seasons. So identifying the right season that you're in, having a support network, whether it's family or fellowship and some version of that, the infrastructure for you to actually have a good, solid outcome versus kind of just, suffering in silence.
Yeah.
So, I think moral of the story is take a good internal, audit of yourself and where you're trying to really go, and then build the infrastructure around there to get you there. Because it's not as hard as everyone makes it out to be, but it's A, realizing it, and B, being able to have the balls to make the decision and move forward.
Yeah. I love that.
I'm going to be honest with you. I have a lot to reflect on after this podcast in a good way. Like, I'm happy that it makes me go inward and be like, okay, a lot of what you said is really hitting. And I really appreciate you with the audit, the self-audit thing, because that's something I'm definitely not doing enough of. And I need to do more regularly and more intentionally.
Cool.
So thank you for
Yeah,
coming
I
on.
have
on
a pamphlet.
I would love to,
I'll
yeah.
just give it out. I mean, to your
Please,
audience, if you guys
yeah.
want to put it in the show notes,
Yeah.
I'll put a little Google Drive for you guys to have it.
Absolutely.
Not
let's make
for
that
you though,
happen.
Sav, because he doesn't coach women. So I'll
everyone,
take
for
it.
that
No,
party,
it's
but
cool. It's fine. It's just for us.
I
You gotta
had
keep
women
something
in my
for us.
Jarrell, face palm, sir.
Hey, listen, man. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Nashville Fit Magazine podcast. I'm not as good as Sav, so I'm going to mess some of these names up. But we got Trent over here on the ones and twos. Erie. He's producing and making sure that we look good. We got Terry and Jack that are both producers and videographers. I feel like I'm missing somebody. Is that it?
Our sponsor?
Our sponsors, Freshie. Stretch Zone. Gracie Coaching, thank you guys for your financial contribution to be sponsors. We appreciate you keeping the lights on. I'm here with my girl, Savvy Sav.
Yes, Jarrell.
Yeah?
Signing out today. It's been a good day talking to Craig, so.
Yes.
I appreciate y'all having me.
Craig, thank you so much for tapping in with us. I'm your second host, the beautiful one.
I'm the first
That's
host.
what I'm going to go by.
The pretty
from now
one.
on.
The prettiest.
The prettiest. And we'll see you guys next time you press play.